Hey everyone, welcome back to Solo Party. My name is Kane, and we're back with our final gameplay session in Session 1 of our Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era campaign. We're at the start of Day 9, and I think we do want to go ahead and trigger one more delve, because if we can get 3 artifacts, that's going to help us to defeat a level 20 enemy during the final battle. For this delve, we're going to have Khajiit be the first player, so let's go ahead and get our first Explore action, and we've drawn Slag Flow. So let's go ahead and draw one of those random tiles. Now, this is not a Sky Shard tile. We do not have the symbol. We do get to put out 2 legendary items, but we only have 1 slot for them. So we will get to place 1 legendary item there, and then we will be able to spawn a level 10 and a level 5 enemy. So let's go ahead and populate that tile. And now, unfortunately, this spider has the Stalwart skill, so that means we can only deal 1 damage to it each turn. So we will go ahead and have our Khajiit move forward onto this legendary item, and we will go ahead and use our cut purse to immediately unlock that. This gives us the Bloodthorn Signet. This is going to be a ring, and we can discard this item during a town encounter to gain additional town actions equal to 5 minus the party. So this will give us 1 additional town action, and you may distribute these town actions among adventurers as desired. Okay, so that could be good when we go to town. We'll put that in the Khajiit's pack for now. We still have 1 point of movement remaining from our initial move, but our cut purse also gives us 5 more, so we're actually just going to slide back to where we started. We will choose to use an engage action, and we're going to go into our defensive form, and we're going to roll 2 of our combat skill die and our authority die, with the target being our wood elf. And so we'll resolve our authority die, giving our wood elf 2 tenacity, putting it up to 4, and that becomes drained. Then we will ourselves gain 1 tenacity, going up to 3, and we will have 1 defense into our active slot. And now it goes to our Nord's turn. We've recovered all of our die, so we have everything available to us. We will go ahead and move, get adjacent to the Dark Elf Raider, and with our 3 stamina, we will engage it. We're going to use a combat skill die and our 2 wrecking blows. We'll also be using our Void Steel Axe to ignore 1 of those defense. And we're going to save our once per battle abilities until we see maybe another stronger unit, because with these delves, we keep getting the Sky Shards on the first tile, but we're going to have to keep exploring to find another Sky Shard to be able to get out of this. Okay, and that is perfect. That's going to be a total of 6 damage against 1 defense. It does have 5 health, so we defeat the Dark Elf Raider just like that. Whenever we resolved this die, which we would do first, we would gain the 2 light fatigue, but we have 4 tenacity, so our dragon blood lets us remove that 2 light fatigue. And because we know this spider is about to get an attack off, we will go ahead and gain 1 light fatigue to perform another engage action, and we'll go into our defensive battle form and roll 2 combat skill die to put some shields up. And okay, we're going to get 1 shield up and gain 1 tenacity. And that does max out our tenacity at 5. And actually, I was going to end the turn here, but gaining that extra tenacity has given me an idea. I'm going to go ahead and use a class action for our Dragon Leap, and I'm going to spend 2 tenacity. So that means everybody is going to get to move up to 2 spaces, but really all I want to do is just move our Nord back 2. And that does still leave us with 3 tenacity, so Dragon's Blood is still activated. And I'm just now realizing I forgot to do our slag flow for both the Khajiit and the Nord, so let's look at that. Searing Path. When an adventurer would move off of this tile, they must immediately perform a lockpick check on the top card of the common item deck. If unsuccessful, they must either remain on this tile or do all of the following: lose a tenacity, gain an overfatigue, and be dealt 1 true damage. Regardless of success, we cycle the lockpick card to the bottom of the common deck. So let's actually go ahead and do that real quick with the Khajiit and with the Nord, just to make sure we can actually do all these things we set out to do. For the Khajiit, we're looking for a 3-6-5, 3 attempts. Okay, we got a 3 and a 6, and I think we will spend 1 light fatigue to put that up to a 5. Or sorry, gain 1 light fatigue to put that up to a 5. Just so we can guarantee that we don't have to backtrack as much. We can do what we wanted to do. And now our Nord has 3 attempts for 6-1-4. We're 1 away with each of these, but do I really want to gain 3 light fatigue? I don't think so. I think I'm going to reroll everything. Okay, we got our 4. I will take 1 light fatigue to make this a 6. And let's use our last roll to try to get closer to a 1 here. Okay, we got it. Okay, beautiful. So everything gets to go as planned. And now it is our Breton's turn. We will go ahead and choose to roll our two bound armaments and our force shock die targeting the spider. All right, so we will gain one tenacity from this die. We'll get our bound armaments with the armor side in our active slot, and we have dealt two damage with the force shock to the spider, but because it has stalwart, it is only going to be able to take one damage. It also has native, which means it has fumes, and our Breton is going to gain the blind status die. Now that's it for our Breton, and it's our Wood Elf's turn. At the start of our turn, our Archer ability will target the spider. It is within range and in sight, so it will take one damage. But now, again, because of Stalwart, we're not going to be able to deal any more damage to it this turn. But we will still engage it, and we'll try to blast it with some acid spray. Well, I guess this will still count as an engage, so we will be gaining the blind after this, but hopefully we can get a Bane on it. And we did unfortunately miss with that, but we will gain one tenacity, putting us up to 5. And now it's the enemy's turn. It does have a range of 2, so it will, from that spot, be able to target both our Khajiit and our Nord, and it will do so because it can target 2 enemies. So it's going to roll 2 combat die against us. And that is the best outcome we could have hoped for. We did have 1 defense up with each of them just in case, but we will take 2 misses. And now we start round 2 with the Khajiit. We will go ahead and begin with a move action. And we will engage the spider going back into our one-handed form. And we will choose to roll a combat skill die and a shield discipline. And that's going to be 2 damage, but we can only deal 1 to it because of stalwart, so it goes down to 3 HP. And then our shield discipline will go into our active slot. Now for our Nord's turn, we will also move. We will move 2 spaces right here and engage the spider. We'll go back into our two-handed form. And again, we'll just roll 1 wrecking blow and 1 combat skill die just to make sure we can get 1 damage off. All right, so we get our 1 tenacity going to 4. And then resolving this will give us 2 fatigue, but 3 damage will let us deal 1 to the spider. So our Breton has recovered its die, but it is still blind. That status die is not going to get removed until the end of the delve or until another effect would tell us to remove it. That being said, we will go ahead and roll at least a purge die here to try and remove that. And I'll probably go ahead and roll one of our bound armaments die again as well. But before I do that, I do want to go ahead and use a class ability to put us down to 4, just in case we roll a tenacity. We don't want to waste that if we can, and we will summon our Diving Cliff Racer. Okay, so we did get the 1 tenacity back, but we got our purge side that we wanted, which is going to let us heal 1 HP and remove a status die. And I will go ahead and use that purge, putting it into our cooldown slot to remove the blind from our Wood Elf. Now I want to go ahead and exhaust our bound armaments at the end of our turn here to allow our Wood Elf, who is now not blind, to make an engage against the spider to try to get some damage dealt on the Breton's turn. Because then when the Wood Elf's turn actually starts, even though it's going to gain another blind status die from this engage, its beginning effect from being an archer will defeat the spider. And there we go. That is more than enough damage. The spider goes down to 1. And our Wood Elf is blind again. Now the Wood Elf's turn begins, and its start of turn archer ability will defeat the spider. Now with our Wood Elf, we're going to take an Explore action. And this one is going to be a little different how you've seen us get those free Explore actions from starting our turn on these cave tiles. You can use an Explore action if you have not moved yet your turn, and if there is an explorable tile in range and in sight. So we could explore this one or even this one because it is within range 4 and just in an adjacent tile to us. And since our units back here don't really have much defense and these do, I think I'm going to play it safe and explore back here just in case any units that get summoned will then move towards our adventurers with some defense. And now we've drawn treasure cache. Okay, so I was really hoping to get a sky shard symbol here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Toasty, our appleback salamander, to place 1 HP chip on it, and then we get to discard the delve card we just drew and draw a new one. And here we go. This time we've drawn armed guards. All right, so this is a sky shard tile, so we will be keeping it. And we've got another long hallway tile, so let's go ahead and draw one of those. Now, this also does not have any when revealed effects, so we'll go ahead and place our loot and populate the tile. And all right, we've placed our loot in the farthest spot possible. Our level 20 in our 10, we could not summon the level 5 because there is not another spawn point. So that Goblin Butcher looks pretty tough, but it's going to take it at least a couple turns to get to us because it only has a range of 1, and the Khajiit Cultist is a range of 2, so not too bad, and only with 6 health, it shouldn't be too big of a problem. And now after our explore action, we are definitely not in range to be able to make an attack. So that's going to be it for our wood elf. And now our companion will get to activate. So the diving cliff racer does have rush, meaning if it doesn't get to its target, it will get to make another move. And with that, it will go to the enemy turn. So with our diving cliff racer rushing up like that, it does look like the goblin butcher will be able to get an attack off this turn. So it's going to move 2, and it will attack for 4 enemy combat die. And our diving cliff racer does have dodge, so even with rolling 4 enemy combat die, any misses are going to subtract extra damage from the total, meaning that our diving cliff racer does have a chance to make it out of this. All right, well, unfortunately, that is 4 hits, which is going to be enough to defeat our diving cliff racer. So now before the Khajiit cultist turn, we're going to get a good opportunity to use our Wood Elf's Hunter's Eye. So once per battle before any unit's turn, we can apply a stealth status die to up to 2 party members in play. And we will go ahead and choose our Nord and our Khajiit. And now the Khajiit cultist will go. It does have a range of 2, but it did not start its turn adjacent to the Khajiit or the Nord, so it's not going to be able to target either of them, and it's too far away to get the Wood Elf or the Breton. And now it's the end of the Khajiit cultist turn. It does have Ritual 1, which means at the end of its turn, all allied units in sight will heal for 1, but the Goblin Butcher has not taken any damage yet, so we can ignore that and go back to our adventurer turns with round 3. Now, at the start of our Khajiit's turn, we're going to move 3, and we actually only need to move 1 space. I don't want to move off of the slag flow yet because that will activate level 1 of the armed guards here, which adds 2 HP to each enemy occupying this tile. So I do not want to give our Goblin Butcher more health, and I can fight it from right here, so why not? We're going to go ahead and make an engage action, and we're going to roll our remaining shield discipline and combat skill die and use our Galatite sword to gain another enemy combat die. Okay, so that was a really good roll. We got a total of 5 here, and against its 2 defense, that means we get to deal 3 damage, taking it down to 6 HP. And then our shield discipline will go into our active slot to be able to block us for 2. And because we made an attack, we will also lose our stealth die. Now for the Nord's turn, let's go ahead and move 1 space here and engage the Khajiit cultist. And with our 3 stamina in two-handed form, we will use a Wrecking Blow, an Onslaught, and a combat skill die. We'll also use our Void Steel Axe to ignore 1 defense. And we'll go ahead and use Reveler here to get +4 enemy combat die. This should take it out. We were really wanting to use this attack on the Goblin Butcher, but I kind of blocked us in with how we had things work out here, and maybe all this extra dice would have made up for that 2 HP, but I'd rather play it safe here. 1 die didn't drop, and there we go. So we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right there. And with 1 defense and 6 HP, that is going to be enough to defeat it. So we are not going to resolve this die because it would also gain us a Bane status. And we can't target it even though we have the blind status because it is the only unit adjacent to us, therefore it must be the strongest. And we will get our 1 tenacity as well, going up to 5. And lastly, with that defeat, we get to remove 2 of the life fatigue in our cooldown. Now with our Breton, we will go ahead and start moving forward 2 spaces. Actually, we're just going to move 1 step forward because really we want our Wood Elf to be able to get up in there and get in range to attack the Goblin Butcher. We are still blind, but I think we will just go ahead and roll a Bound Armaments and our Purge. And okay, just 1 tenacity. We're already at max, so that's not going to do anything, but our Purge will go into our active slot, and we will use that on our Wood Elf so we can make sure that we get a good attack off this turn. Now our Wood Elf will activate and we'll move 4 spaces. Well, I think we will actually back up 1 space here. We don't need to be that close. We were not in range for our Archer passive to go off, but we do get to make an engage action. And with 4 stamina, we will go ahead and roll both of our snipe die and both of our combat skill die. I think I've been explaining the snipe die wrong, but it has been confirmed by Chip Theory and Shannon on the Discord that each of the snipe die get to get rid of 1 defense. So as long as we hit with both of these, we will get to ignore both of the Goblin Butcher's defense. And there we go. That was about the best we could hope for. We got 5 total damage off. We get to ignore both of its defense. And that leaves it on 1 HP. We are at max tenacity, so we once again won't be able to gain that tenacity there. But I think we will go ahead and actually just spend 3 of our tenacity to use our lethal arrow ability. And that's going to let us roll 2 enemy combat die against a targetable enemy, and the roll damage is true damage, so we won't have to worry about the shield. And there you go. We just needed 1. That defeats the Goblin Butcher. Now it is round 4 and there are no more enemies on the board, but we have not stepped into that armed guards area to pick up the Sky Shard yet. So even though we could do that right away with the Khajiit, I'm actually going to wait to do that on our Wood Elf's turn. That way we can get some free recovery actions with all of our characters. So I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward to that. And now with most of our dice recovered, it is our Wood Elf's turn. We will move 3 spaces and enter the armed guards, picking up the Sky Shard. There are no enemies to add 2 HP to, so we can ignore that. And we will end the turn. Obviously, by waiting this long, we also didn't get to go up and get to that loot, but that's okay. Just some common loot. We can ignore it just to make sure we can get out of here in good standing. Now for the reward phase, I'm just going to bank all of our experience for now. Our Breton and our Nord have 1, our Khajiit has 3, and our Wood Elf has 2. Everyone is back up to full HP and has recovered 1 die for our Adventurer's Rest, and now we will go to the start of day 10. We're at day 10 and our party experience is at 11. I think we are going to try to go to the right here and get to this peaceful encounter. And then on day 11, we'll hit up a town, and then we will be able to go to the combat encounter on day 12 to initiate our final quest. So let's go ahead and see what this peaceful encounter is over in Voss. We have the Clockwork Contact. You've come across an exceedingly rare find on the road, an Argonian who wants to make an offering to Sotha Sil. The Dark Elves haven't been kind to my people, but I have no quarrel with the tribunal, she explains. The spirit of invention drives me, and I hope a tribute to the clockwork god can set me on the right path. But what can you make for the god who can make anything? She shows you some half-finished blueprints for an innovative clockwork creature and asks if you have any ideas. Okay, so 2 non-combat options here. We can offer to help finish the automaton for 1 experience point. This option can only be selected if adventurers discard a collective total of 4 items. And we don't want to do that. So honestly, I'm not even going to read it. I don't really care what the rest is. I like our items. So we're going to this, what we would have to do for unstable here. We can offer to help scrap the automaton so she can reuse the parts in a new design. This is also going to get us 1 experience, and then each adventurer may draw 2 common items, choosing 1 to gain and 1 to discard. Okay, and then if we were in the unstable location, we would only be able to draw, choosing to gain or discard 1. So, okay, pretty good. Easy experience and loot gain here. For our Breton, we get to choose between a glyph of reduced feat cost. This is going to enchant the Delve deck, and each time a Delve card is drawn, the party may draw an additional card, choose 1 to keep, and put the other at the bottom of the deck. The next time a Delve encounter ends, we would discard this. So this will just help us during a Delve. Or we can get a pet rock. They did not put a pet rock in this game. Pebble Pal Rocky. You may place 1 HP chip on this pet to deal 1 damage to an enemy in sight. You may not place more than 1 HP on this pet at the same time. Once there are 5 HP chips on this, we can discard it. And you know how I feel about pets. I'm taking Pebble Pal. I want a pet rock. And so for the Nord, we can choose between a glyph of foulness. We get to enchant an enemy bag, and when an enemy is deployed from this bag, it is deployed with -1 HP. The next time a battle ends, we discard this. Okay, so that could be pretty good to weaken the final battle. Or we can get a breaching poison. We can expend it to deal 1 true damage to a targetable enemy. If this damage defeats that enemy, you may gain 1 light fatigue to repeat this effect. Okay, that's pretty interesting, but I think we do good damage with our Nord. I like the enchant on the enemy bag, just to make everyone weaker from that bag. For our Khajiit, we choose between a heavy red tincture. We can expend this, and until the end of the round, you can only take a maximum of 1 damage each turn. Okay, so that could help our Khajiit not take as much damage. And we've also got the Sparring Manual. When visiting a trainer, you may train a warrior type skill line of your choice from the bag instead. Alternatively, instead of training a skill line, you may discard this item to untrain a warrior type skill die and then train a skill die in that same line that is 1 level higher. Okay, so that's actually good for our 1-handed shield. So we're going to take the Sparring Manual. And lastly, for our Wood Elf, we will choose between the Barnacle Back Coral Crab. Barney, when you would gain a status die, you may instead place 1 HP on this pet, and once there are 2 HP chips on this pet, we can discard it. Now, that's really good, going with our pet synergies with the Wood Elf. Or another weapon. We haven't seen one of these in a while, a Mahogany Restoration Staff. If this engage defeats an enemy, heal for 2 HP. Now, that's definitely not something that good for our Wood Elf, and honestly, not that good for our Breton either, so we're going to take Barney. Now for our reward phase, we all gained our 1 experience, and again, we are just going to bank it for now until the end of this next town encounter before we go into our final battle. The only thing we did do with our Khajiit, we're going to go ahead and pick up Heroic Slash for our 1-hand and shield line, because that would have put us at 4, so we spent 2 in order to get this die. Now our total party experience is at 12, And we will go ahead and go into our adventurer's rest step to get a few more die from our Khajiit and our Nord. And then we can go to day 11. And we did forget to activate our province step, so let's do that real quick. This was our peaceful encounter. That is 1, so our dig track will go up by 1. And now we're going to go visit the town of Sadrith Mora. The mushroom city of Sadrith Mora is one of the most important holdings of House Telvanni. As befitting its house, which is outside of the Ebonheart Pact, the island settlement is remote and hard to reach. Those who succeed in doing so, however, will find a world of magical possibilities at their fingertips. So we have outside the pact. At the start of this encounter, each adventurer may discard one legendary item to gain one additional town action. And I don't think any of us are going to do that. I think we'll be fine with 2 town actions each. For this town encounter, we are going to start with the Wood Elf, and we're going to go to the Guild Kiosk to use our Community Outreach action. We're going to discard a clothing item to gain 3 tenacity, and that will put us up to 5. And for our second action, we're going to visit the Alchemy Station to ready our Fracturing Poison. Next, we will go with the Khajiit. And we're going to go ahead and use our Bloodthorn Signet here. We can discard this item to get an additional town action, so we now have 3 available to us. We're going to use 2 of those 3 actions to go to the Alchemy Station and ready our Potion of Heroism, as well as our Ashen Blood of Malakath. We're then going to discard this item to untrain a warrior type skill die and then train a skill die in that same line that is 1 level higher. So we're actually going to untrain that Heroic Slash we just got to get a level 3 shield charge. This skill die has 2 options. We can recover any number of shield discipline dice from your active slots and cooldown track and deal 1 damage to your target for each shield discipline die recovered this way, sorry, not removed, or we can deal 1 damage to your target for each one-handed shield skill die that we have trained. And while I was thinking about getting that dagger, I think I'm actually going to go for the Calcinium Mace with the Khajiit. Because this is going to let us, for each 2 tenacity we have, add 1 enemy combat die to this engage. So this could be better than our Galatite sword, as long as we stay at 4 or higher tenacity. And we don't use a whole lot of tenacity with our Khajiit, so I feel like we could get that. It also has the overtax ability to give us an extra 2 tenacity before this engage. Now for our Nord, we're going to go ahead and pick up the other weapon just to add to our backpack and power up our Reveler ability. And then I think it's not going to be a bad idea to go ahead and grab this Sip of Health potion. Now, this does put us at a full 8 items in our inventory, so we cannot get anything else with the Nord. And now with the Breton, even though there's a lot of Magicka type skill lines out there, there's not really anything I want to get while training. But I think I will go ahead and do the Tel Naga down here. I can untrain a Magicka type skill die and train a skill die of the next level higher in the same skill line. Kind of like that training manual, but for Magicka. So I'm going to untrain one of our bound armaments to get a level 2 Power Stone. And so the Power Stone here, on 4 of its sides, you may change the result of up to X other skill dice you rolled this engage to a side of your choice. So 4 out of those 6 die are going to let us manipulate the other die we roll that turn to get exactly what we want. And that's going to be huge for putting our Expert Summoner up to that max value of 3. And lastly, I think we will just grab this orange tincture with the Breton. We can expend it to automatically succeed at a lockpick check without rolling any dice. And that will be it for the town encounter. And now we'll do our Adventurer's Rest, and the Nord only has 1 combat skill die in its cooldown, and everybody else is at full health and with all of their die available. Now, during this reward step, we will go ahead and spend our experience to get the last bit of preparation ready for this final battle of Session 1. We're going to grab a level 3 summon die with the Breton, and that's going to let us deploy companion units, either the Clanfear or the Atronak, and we will look at what those are once we actually summon them in battle. They are drain die, and they are on 2 of the 6 sides each. With our Nord, we're going to gain Executioner, and this means we get to gain 2 light fatigue or 1 over fatigue to immediately defeat an adjacent non-quest enemy that has less HP than you do. It's on 3 of the 6 sides, so that's a 50-50 shot. With our Khajiit, we are just going to gain 1 more shield discipline die. That is going to make our shield charge even stronger. Now for our Wood Elf, we went ahead and gained 1 more snipe die, and we got our first acrobatic skill, Fleet Phantom. So this is going to go in our cooldown, and then while this die is in your cooldown track, you may move up to X hexes at the start of your turn. And now why we wanted to get this is because we also have another start of our turn ability with our Archer. And so we can resolve those in any order we want. So if we ever start our turn out of range of something, we can use our Fleet Phantom first to get in range and then trigger our ability. And now we're on the last day, day 12, with 12 experience for our party, and we just need to get to a conflict location in order to trigger this final quest, and there is one right next to us, so we are just going to go. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. We're going to go to that location and trigger our final quest. And now we are all set up for the final quest battle with Anchorite Deslandra. We're facing off against a massive 64-point enemy pool for the end game quest. A couple of things to note for the setup. We used our glyph of foulness on the 10 and 20 point bag, so all three of our 20-point enemies have entered with one less HP. We also put the Ashen Blood of Malakath on the first slot where a level 20 enemy would be spawning, and therefore the Titan ended up getting the Bane status die on it. And remember that quest enemies cannot have status die on them unless specifically told to. After deploying, we also used our Scout's ability because this level 20 enemy did spawn here and the Mud Crab was up here, but because that was a ranged unit and that's a melee unit, I went ahead and swapped those to get this one a little bit closer, and I'll explain more about why I chose that one in just a moment. This is also another example. We could not use non-quest enemies for that, so we couldn't just put Deslandra right up front and take her out. As part of setup, each of our adventurers have had to drain one skill die of our choice. So the Breton and the Nord have drained a combat skill die, the Khajiit has drained an authority skill die, and the Wood Elf went ahead and drained its new acrobat skill die. I chose that one because with all the information revealed here, I just don't think there's going to be a point where we are not going to be in range to use that archer ability, like kind of the reason why I said we picked that up in the first place. And we can roll 4 die, so I want to have as many attacks as possible. And now there is a lot of information on the board right now, so let's go ahead and take a look at each enemy and learn its skills before we start. The Khajiit Bandit has Retreat. That means if there were ever a turn where no units were damaged, this unit would then heal 1 HP and gain Stealth. The High Elf Bandit has Dodge. This means if we roll any misses in our attack, that counts as damage that it negates for that engage. The Mud Crab has Stalwart, so it can only lose 1 HP each turn. The Breton Archmage has Arcane, Siphon, and Necromancy. So Arcane means that damage that it deals is true damage. Siphon means at the start of its turn, it's going to take 1 HP from each unit in range and then gain that to the bottom of its stack, and that can exceed its HP. So there are a lot of units on the board that it can pull HP from. So this is a high priority to get rid of. It also has Necromancy, which means at the start of its turn, if there are any defeated enemies, it will get to resummon those with party size HP. So any Necromancy enemies that get resummoned come in with 4 HP. Dremora has Arcane and Daze. So again, Arcane means all of its damage is true damage, and Daze means that it will apply the Daze status die after it attacks. And the Titan also has Daze, and then it also has the native ability Fumes, which we've seen is the one that gives us blind status die after we attack it. Then the Corrupted Creature has Cornered and Native, so it also has Fumes, and then Cornered means it gains plus 2 HP for each undefeated adventurer that starts in the battle with it, so it got plus 8 HP. And lastly, we have Anchorite Deslandra, who also has Dodge and Necromancy. So having 2 enemies with Necromancy on the board starting out is really not great for us. That means we can defeat enemies, but they're just going to keep getting resummoned. So definitely a high priority to take out that Breton Archmage, so we only have 1 enemy with Necromancy to deal with. And now, with all of that, let's go ahead and have our Khajiit be our first player, and we will start the final battle. With the Khajiit, I'm going to start by moving 1 space to the High Elf Bandit, and with my 3 stamina, I'll engage it with 3 of my Shield Discipline die. I have the Calcinium Mace equipped instead of the Galatite Blade, and that's the one that gives me, for each 2 Tenacity, you have add 1 enemy combat die to this engage, so I'll also grab 1 enemy combat die. And with that roll, we did a total of 3 damage, but we did roll 1 miss. So that does mean that's going to cancel out one of those damages, and we will deal 2 to the High Elf Bandit, putting it at 1 HP. Then all of the Shield Discipline die go into our active slot. Then I'm going to choose to gain a Light Fatigue to perform another engage action, this time against the Khajiit Bandit. And I'm only going to be rolling a single die. I'm going to roll my Shield Charge. And we got the side of the die that says to deal 1 damage to your target for each 1 hand and shield skill die you have trained. We have 4 trained, and the Khajiit Bandit only has 3 health, so it will be defeated. Now, at the start of our Nord's turn, we're going to move to engage the Breton Archmage. And with our 3 stamina, we will choose to roll 2 of our Wrecking Blows and a combat skill die, and we'll be using our Void Steel Axe to ignore 1 defense. And that is beautiful. That is going to total to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. It only has 5 HP and 1 defense, so that will defeat the Breton Archmage. And because our Dragon Blood is active with 5 tenacity, we will go ahead and ignore the 2 light fatigue that we would gain from that Wrecking Blow symbol. So we will resolve the 2 Wrecking Blow die first, and then the combat skill die in our cooldown. Next, as an action, we're going to go ahead and get rid of the 3 artifacts we were able to recover from disrupting those digs to defeat a level 20 enemy. And we're going to choose to get rid of this Dramora. And lastly, with the Nord, we will spend 2 of our 5 tenacity, going down to 3, so our Dragon Blood is still online, to move 2 spaces backwards with a Dragon Leap. We will also use that same Dragon Leap to move this Breton up 2 spaces, move this Khajiit back 2 spaces, and move our Wood Elf up 2 spaces. And now it's our Breton's turn. The first thing we are going to do is spend 5 tenacity, and for the first time, summon our Feral Guardian. Then we will go ahead and take an engage action. We're going to roll our Power Stone, our Summon, and our Expert Summoner die. Okay, great. So first, we will use our Power Stone to choose 1 die that we use disengage and put it on a side of our choice. So we're going to put our Expert Summoner up to its max power of 3. And then we also get to summon an Atronach. And our Atronach has Divert, so it cannot be defeated unless it was attacked while it was already on 1 HP. And because we have our Expert Summoner 3 out right now, our Feral Guardian and Atronach both get to move for 5 points. And then our Feral Guardian is attacking for 6, and our Atronach is attacking for 4, depending on which one we use first. Now, we're going to use our Pebble Pal Rocky here to go ahead and place 1 HP chip on this pet to defeat the High Elf Bandit. And lastly, we will go ahead and take 1 more engage action with the Breton, gaining our 1 light fatigue, and we just simply want to throw a Force Shock over at the Mud Crab. And so it does hit, but the crab has Stalwart, so it only takes the 1 damage, going to 2 HP. And now our Wood Elf activates, and at the start of its turn, we will use our Archer ability, and we're actually in range to hit Deslandra, and we will be able to get 1 damage off because she only has 1 defense. And then if we can go ahead and take Deslandra out this turn with the Wood Elf, that would be amazing. So we are going to roll 3 of our Snipe die and 1 of our Combat Skill die. And okay, Deslandra does have dodge, so that's going to negate 1 of those damages. But we will get 2 damage through to Deslandra, putting her down to 3 HP. Then I really do want to take Deslandra out this turn so we don't have to worry about Necromancy. So we're going to go ahead and use Lethal Arrow on our Archer class. We get to roll 2 enemy combat dice against a targetable enemy, and rolled damage is true damage. That puts us down to 2 tenacity, and we're looking for 3 damage here. Okay, so not 3, but 2 is still good, putting Deslandra down to 1 HP. And now to finish off Deslandra, we are going to use our Fracturing Poison. Deslandra has 1 HP remaining and 1 defense, so we expend this to defeat Deslandra. So the reason we wanted to defeat him with the Wood Elf on this turn instead of our companions is because we really want to get the maim off on the corrupted creature, and then have our Atronach go and distract the Titan, since we know it can't be defeated since it's not on 1 HP. And that will be the end of our adventurer's turn, so we will go to our companions. And we'll start with the Feral Guardian, who is going to move to engage the corrupted creature. And it's going to get to attack for 6 enemy combat die. Okay, it only has 1 defense. And not bad. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage against 1 defense. That's 6 HP off right there from 13, leaving it with 7 HP remaining. It does also have fumes, so the Feral Guardian will gain the blind status. And unfortunately, I am just now realizing that it is a quest unit, so it actually cannot gain status die, so we cannot put maim on the corrupted creature. So maybe we should have gone after the Titan, but we'll leave our decision as is. And now we'll have our Atronach move against the Titan here. And with our Expert Summoner on 2, we'll be able to attack it for 3 enemy combat die. Okay, so for a hit of 3, it does have 2 defense, so that is only going to be 1 HP loss. And then our Atronach will also gain the blind status die since the Titan also has native. And that's going to be everything for our Adventurer and Companion first turn. A very strong start for us being able to get rid of those 2 Necromancy enemies. So, in order of hierarchy, our quest enemy will go first. So, the corrupted creature is going to attack our feral guardian for 4 combat die. Okay, so 1 miss and 3 damage means that our feral guardian goes down to 2 HP. Now, our Titan will activate, and with Bane, it will lose 1 HP. And then it will attack the Atronac for 4 combat die. Okay, even better. And our Atronac has 1 defense, so that actually dealt no damage. And now our Atronac also has daze, and that just means that it cannot move and attack on the same turn, which shouldn't be a problem if we stay adjacent to the Titan. But that's going to be the end of everything for round 1, so we will go over to round 2 and start with the Khajiit. We get to recover our Shield Bash and our Light Fatigue, and as you can see, we have actually blocked ourselves in here. I didn't realize that with everything else going on, so we will just go ahead and move 1 step forward, and that will be it for our Khajiit. Well, I guess there is one thing we can do with our turn. We will engage to use our authority die on our Breton. Okay, and our Breton gets 2 tenacity. Now it's the Nord's turn, and we're going to move 3 spaces to go help the Atronac over here out with the Titan. We would really like to defeat this in 1 hit, so we're going to go all out here. We're going to roll 3 of our 2-handed die, 1 onslaught, and 2 of our wrecking blows. We're going to use our Void Steel Axe to ignore 1 defense on our target. We're also going to use our Phial of Daedric Whispers to get our Breton's race ability so we can overtax the Void Steel Axe without having to lose it. So we're going to ignore 1 defense on the Titan, and we get to add 3 enemy combat die to this engage. All right, we've got a lot of die up here helping us to try and fell this Titan. And an unfortunate couple of misses on our enemy combat die, but I think we have enough with everything else. We'll resolve this for 3 damage and gain 2 light fatigue. Then we'll resolve this for a total of 6 damage and another 2 light fatigue. And then this enemy combat die makes it 7. It's got 7 HP remaining and 1 defense, so we'll get 6 damage through just with that, and its Bane will kill it at the start of its own turn. The reason we're going to do that instead of just killing it outright is because this symbol would actually drain that die instead of letting us keep it for another attack, just in case we need it for our next turn up against the corrupted creature. I don't think that'll be the case, but just in case, that's how we're going to play it. Now for our Breton's turn, we got to recover all of our die. And we're going to go ahead and engage the corrupted creature, since we do have a range of 3 because our magicka is 3. And we'll roll a Bound Armaments, a Power Stone, and our Force Shock. And this Bound Armaments is cocked, so we'll re-roll that. Okay. So I think we do want to gain the tenacity from this, so I'm okay with leaving that as is and putting us up to 3 tenacity. And then I actually want to change this side over here, so we get to deal 4 damage to the corrupted creature, and then we have to deal 1 true damage to any 1 adventurer. And our Nord does have the health potion, so we'll choose it to take the 1 damage. And with 1 defense, the corrupted creature will take 3. Now for the Wood Elf's turn, we're going to recover our 3 snipe die. And then we're going to engage the corrupted creature with all 3 of those snipe die and 1 more combat skill die. Hopefully this will be able to take it out because we're going to be able to ignore that defense. And also our archer ability would have gone off, and we're going to deal that damage to the mud crab to take it down to 1 HP. And there you go. That is 4 damage. We get to ignore the 1 defense. It has 4 HP remaining, so the corrupted creature is defeated. Now our companions activate, and we will have the Feral Guardian attack the mud crab. Our last charge of the Expert Summoner die gets used, so we are rolling 4 enemy combat die. And there you go. We only need 1 damage to get through. It had 1 HP with Stalwart and 1 defense, so 2 damage would have done it there. And I don't even need to attack with our Atronac. We pass it over to the enemy turn, and when the Titan activates, it succumbs to its Bane. And just like that, we have completed the end-game quest. Everybody goes up to 2 experience points in the reward phase, and when it's completed, we go to entry E22. Your mission accomplished. You return to the Necron docks. Urundile listens intently as you describe how Deslandra's laborers at the site had been crafting what looked like metal harnesses and holsters. You believe them to be working on devices that could hold and wield the artifacts, perhaps allowing them to be attached to a part of a greater structure, at least that is, before you destroyed all of the devices. Urundile strokes her chin and frowns. Good work, she says. I'll report to Bodian. You may await further instructions, or, if you like, feel free to continue investigating on your own. The Watch always encourages local autonomy. In Session 1, we get to choose one of the following options. If our investigations put you on the trail of an escaped convict, we select the Morrowind Fighters Guild quest for Session 2. If the Watch calls you to more explicitly charitable deeds, select the Valenwood Outer Watch quest for Session 2. Or if you find you have an aptitude for doing a guild's dirty work, select the Cyrodiil Circle of Champions quest for Session 2. And I think I'm feeling up for a change of scenery. Let's go do some more explicitly charitable deeds in Valenwood. The last thing we need to note is for our campaign sheet, we have gained the keyword disrupt operation, and that will conclude session 1 of our campaign. I'm excited to see what Valenwood has to offer, so I will see you all next time. This has been Solo Party. My name is Kane. Thanks for watching.